Hello and welcome to another Fantasy Premier League video. My name is Steve and this is the first video in a series that I'm trying out that's going to be more focused on the football, highlighting any in-game situations worth noting that might help us determine who's in contention for selection and poised to do well on the pitch. Now I'm actually doing a dual upload today, so this will be the first video for Ones to Watch series, and if you do enjoy this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, especially if you get any value out of the following content. But also go have a little hunt around for my Liverpool and Arsenal coverage, which will be available at the same time that this video is that you're watching now. So Chelsea have a new manager in charge, Enzo Maresca. Now, Enzo Maresca just finished with Leicester in the last campaign, getting them promoted to the Premier League, and has since taken charge of Chelsea, with Steve Cooper of Nottingham Forest going to take over the promoted Leicester side that Maresca brought up to the Premier League. Now, Maresca has worked closely with Pep at City, so we will likely see some of those strategic influences coming through on the pitch. And Maresca's favoured formation, now this is actually reported by the New York Times, because I actually haven't watched much of Leicester in the Championship last season. I actually haven't watched any of Leicester in the Championship last season, but the New York Times says that Leicester shaped up in a 4-3-3, but for the bulk of the matches they were arranged in more of a 3-2-4-1, with one of the fullbacks inverting into the double pivot, pushing the eights higher up the pitch. So Chelsea played Celtic 3 or 4 days ago now, and they actually lined up in a, well, the graphics on screen were showing a 4-1-4-1 formation, where there was Sanchez in goal, James at right back, Fofana and Badiashile as the centre backs, Levi Colwill as the left back, Latvia in the solo CDM position, and then Madueke on the right, Chukwuemeka and Nkunku in the dual 10 roles, I suppose, and then Mudryk on the left, with Guiu starting up front. Now, it was a 4-1-4-1 on paper, but throughout the match, it was much more of a 3-2-4-1 position, where James was actually coming out of right back and moving into that CDM role. Now, James spent the majority of the first half in that CDM role, so he was actually mostly standing beside Latvia, central in the middle of the pitch, as opposed to dropping back into the right back role. However, he did drop into the defence at times, and that only happened when he switched places with Fofana, which is a little bit weird. Fofana went into midfield to man mark one of the Celtic players, and when that happened, James dropped back into the defence to keep it as a back three. So there was actually James on the right, Badiashile as the centre back, and then Colwill as the left back. Nkunku and Chukwuemeka were mostly playing as 10s, so they were very much advanced players due to James jumping into midfield, giving the double pivot of James and Latvia in behind them, allowing them to press forward. And I am assuming that when Cole Palmer is back and available for Chelsea, that he will probably be playing this number 10 role next to Nkunku in the place of Chukwuemeka. Now, the team that was rolled out basically played the whole first half, and in this game against Celtic, there were actually only 3 subs made at halftime, whereas in the first Chelsea match, I think he completely changed the whole team. There's like 10 subs made, so quite a different situation in the Celtic match. And the players that went off was Fofana and brought on Adar Bayoyo Adebayo, if I've got that right. Chukwuemeka also went off, and Ugochukwu came on, and Mudryk also went off for Sterling. So that was at half time. And then at the 67-minute mark, another 2 subs were made by Chelsea, and both James and Latvia were pulled out. So both CDMs were swapped out, and 2 new CDMs both came in, and that was Gusto, who was actually in my team quite a bit last season, did quite well for me, and Santos, and they both occupied the CDM role. Gusto was pretty much always playing in that CDM role, hardly ever dropping into right back. So that's a little bit of an overview of how Chelsea lined up, the kind of teams that they had throughout the match, and a little bit of Enzo Maresca. So now we'll go into the short list of candidates that are actually on a lot of people's watch lists, or even in a lot of people's teams. So what I've got on screen here is just all the Chelsea players in a valid 4-4-2 formation, ordered by the most selected players. So you'll see Sanchez is the most favoured goalkeeper at 7.1%, with Petrovic being the second most favoured at 1.9%. Palmer's still right up there at 51.6%, but he has not yet played any preseason minutes. And the next closest owned player is Nkunku at 16.8%, with everyone else not really being owned too heavily. I mean, Cucurella's a little bit of a surprise up at 7.8%, but everything else is like 3%, 1% or less. So although there is quite a bit of interest in the Chelsea team, it's solely focused to only a couple of players in the Chelsea squad, and so I thought I would give a bit of a more focused overview of these players, and we'll start off with Nkunku. So in my last video, well, not actually my last video, but the last video I talked about Nkunku, I noted that the reports were that he didn't have a great game back, but that it was his first game back, so we could expect a little bit of rustiness. Now in the Celtic match, he actually had a great game, even looking like the best player in the Chelsea squad. He also was noticeably fitter than everyone else in the Chelsea team, so I suspect he's actually been putting a lot of effort in during the off-season. Now, Nkunku was injured, well, he was bought for last year. He created a bit of a flutter in the FPL community, as lots of people looked to get him in. He then got a horrific injury and was out for pretty much most of the season. And it looks like coming back from that injury, he has actually gone through the paces and put in quite a bit of work. And it was noticeable that he was actually a few leagues ahead of the rest of the players in the squad. So we'll just go through some quick in-game moments that I've managed to scrape off YouTube and Twitter and various places around the web. So Nkunku makes a great run out of midfield on the counter. His first touch takes him too wide to shoot, when a touch towards goal would have generated a chance for himself. However, his cutback was a great ball along the deck that generates a shot, which is saved. That was about 6 minutes in. 17 minutes in, good movement from Nkunku to generate the space. Great through ball by Mudryk, but as Nkunku cuts back to the inside of his man, the ball gets stuck under his feet, losing him the chance to generate a shot. He does keep the ball well though. 20-minute mark. Good direct run by Nkunku. Nice little through ball too. 39th minute. Nice switch of play from Nkunku again. This time he finds Madueke and it generates a chance for Chukwuemeka. 43. Nkunku, working well in tight spaces, sends a great through ball for Giu. Nkunku with good acceleration into space. His pass lets him down though. Around about the 65th minute mark, a Berbatov-like touch from Nkunku to kill the ball dead in a crowded box. He doesn't get the shot off, but he maintains composure and lays it off to Sterling, who loses the ball. And then 89th minute, Nkunku goal, Sterling assist, penalty awarded for the challenge on Sterling. Nkunku steps up and scores the goal. It is at a very savable height if the keeper went the correct way. So that was a little selection of the moments that Nkunku kind of shone throughout the match. Now, what you will pick up from a lot of that is Nkunku was, well, could have got himself into shot generating positions, but was unable to do so. He was able to set up his teammates, but usually was the assister of the assister in a lot of situations. He does look quite fit, but is still looking like he's got a little bit of rustiness about him as he, gets his ball caught under his feet or brings the ball down and should be able to shoot because he's in the 18-yard box, but doesn't quite get his touches right in order to generate those shooting chances. So a definitely improved performance from Nkunku compared to his first game out in preseason. Now, obviously, he was out for a lot of last season, and so he will be a bit of a rusty player, and it will take him a little bit of time to get back up to, proper touches, the speed of the game, the players around him, because he's brand new to the team and doesn't know a lot of his squad mates, what kind of runs they're going to make, when they're likely to play a one-touch pass, the kind of movements they make, all that sort of stuff. But the improvement that we have seen from the first game in preseason to the second game in preseason is very good signs. Now, in terms of points scoring for FPL from this game in Celtic, yeah, he would have got the goal for the penalty. But apart from that, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for him to earn an assist or any shot that he took on himself to give himself the chance to score. So hopefully we see some more continued improvement from Nkunku over the next 2 weeks before the first game of the season kicks off. But it is good early signs for improvements from Nkunku. So he is still definitely one to watch for the coming preseason games. Now, next on the list, the focus is basically just going to be on the Chelsea defense. Now, we'll start off with Sanchez in goal because, as I said, he is owned by 7.1% of the game at the moment. Last season, he actually had a minus 1.3 expected goals prevented, so actually let in about 1 goal more than what he should have from his 16 starts when he took over from Petrovic with a negative 3 goals or expected goals prevented from his 22 starts. So 16 starts for Sanchez, 22 for Petrovic, bit of a mixed bag. Looks like Sanchez is first choice as he has started both games, I believe, in the first 2 preseason games. However, just on Sanchez himself, Sanchez boots it out from a goal kick. Sanchez's simple pass is too wayward and goes out for a throw. Huge save by Sanchez. It should be 2-0. Sanchez kicks the ball long and out on the full. Sanchez kicks the ball out on the full again. Is that 4 times now? So those are the only real notes that I could get together from Sanchez. One very good save. Most of it is about his distribution and just simple passes. That's 10, 12 yard passes with men free and not under much pressure, and he's not even hitting the mark and instead kicking the ball out. This is giving up possession all too easily for Chelsea, and any team that they come up against, like Man City in game week 1, if they start giving the ball away like that, Man City are going to have 70% possession throughout this game if they do not protect the ball in the way that they can. So Sanchez, I would suspect, is a bit of a hard avoid, not because, he did make some good saves, And he did keep Chelsea in the game, but if he keeps giving the ball away, I don't know how long Maresca is actually going to persist with him, because holding on to the pill is actually very, very, very important when it comes to your goalkeeper, especially if you're only playing 3 at the back and using your keeper quite heavily as a bit of a sweeper player. Now, in terms of Chelsea's defence, at the 9-minute mark, this is under the title Formation Issues, Chelsea defence caught high. An early ball into acres of space generates a chance, which is saved by Sanchez at his near post. No, that was 9 minutes in. 11 minutes in, Chelsea defence caught on the counter. Men open and free at the far post, which can sometimes be a weakness of playing 3 at the back. Now, in this move, Fofana has for some reason switched roles with James and is man-marking a Celtic midfielder who drops deep, meaning Fofana is miles up the pitch. This has pushed James to right back, leaving Badiashile in centre back with Colwill at left back. So they've just switched around. James has dropped out of CDM and Fofana has gone into man mark for some reason unbeknownst to, for that period of the game, because it's still early on in the game, and then they did end up reverting back when they realised it wasn't working. So there was still 3 at the back, a right back, a left back, and a centre back. However, now when the Celtic striker drops a bit deep, so this is the man that Badiashile is marking, solo striker, he's dropping into the CDM role, the CDM hole where the CDM would have been, which would have been Fofana, but Fofana has just buggered off miles up the pitch as he's man marking someone. I don't know why your centre back is ending up like right the way up by your 18, your attacking opponent's 18-yard box, but whatever. So the Celtic striker drops a bit deep, meaning Badiashile goes in to pick up the vacant man, and now there's only 2 defenders left. Colwill at left back and James at right back, and a huge gaping hole where the centre backs should be. So Fofana is up with the strikers, and now Badiashile is basically in central midfield. This is suicidal if a half-decent team can counter-attack. This is 11 minutes into the match. I don't know what is going on there. 17 minutes in. Now, I think the next set of notes is all focused around Reece James and him playing in the CDM role. This is when he's actually in CDM, as opposed to for the small parts of the game where he did switch over with Fofana. So 17 minutes in, James then takes a speculative shot which would have ruined the move had the rebound not landed for Chelsea. With 7 men forward and in a good attacking shape, James should be passing the ball here. This is at 17 minutes. I forget who was up high up the pitch for Chelsea, but someone chucked their hands up in the air, frustrated that the fact that the shot had been taken from so far out. And he was right to be frustrated there, as he was free, other men were free, and there were 7 men attacking, where James is taking a speculative shot. 2 minutes later, Celtic goal. 8 Chelsea men in the box, and a simple 1-2 in the area from Celtic has no one closing them down, gifting another chance, which is slotted far post. Now, James makes a mistake here. When Latvia goes to join Mudryk to create a 2-on-1, James needs to step across and shut down the man who was left by Latvia and who is first to receive the ball. James gave that first receiver so much space and time that he can easily find his teammate who scores the goal. 33 minutes, Celtic goal. Chelsea are just jogging into position. No one is picking anyone up. There's 3 free men in this move. This is half an hour into the game. 36 minutes. James loses the ball in a dangerous position, and Celtic get another huge chance on the counter. Now, from memory, this dangerous position was just outside his 18-yard box as they were trying to move the ball out of defence. Then there's a big gap in the game. 66-minute mark, James subbed off for Gusto. Latvia subbed off for Santos. So this is when they actually make the double CDM switch. So no more James on the pitch. So up until this point, I should probably comment, James did not have a very good game. I don't know if he's suited to the CDM role. He seems to be a little bit lost. I don't know if he's got the short passing or the awareness of having all the men around him. He's more used to being in a right back that gets a lot further forward as opposed to being in congested areas. And it looks like Maresca is only trying out either James or Gusto for this spot. It's going to be one of the two that are going to start the season. We're unsure which one at this point. Celtic goal. Badiashile gifted the ball to the striker in the 18-yard box, leaving the striker one-on-one with Sanchez, who didn't miss. It was a tough ball to receive for Badiashile as he was faced towards his own goal with a man close on his back, but he just can't pass the ball into a dangerous area like that. Of course, when you lose the ball like that in a dangerous area in the 18-yard box, you pretty much always give away a one-on-one, and any half-decent striker will usually generate a pretty good chance from that. 78 minutes, Celtic goal. Almost straight from the kickoff from conceding, and Chelsea get done again. This time with an easy ball over the top as Adarabayo, man, that's a hard name. Adarabayo gets caught ball watching and completely loses his man, who easily runs in behind him and goes on a straight run to goal and scores. So that's about as much of an overview as I could give about the Chelsea defence. And if you haven't gathered from that set of in-game situations, Chelsea defence is a very hard avoid right now. I mean, there's still 2 weeks of preseason left. There are still some first-team players to come back, and perhaps the strength of the shape or the strength of the team in that shape playing 3 at the back will be a little bit formidable with the regular first teamers. However, there was quite a few first teamers playing in this Chelsea team, and so I don't know exactly how much stronger they are going to get. Now, Palmer and Jackson haven't yet played for Chelsea. They are still coming back. I think Jackson was spotted on the bench watching the match. Haven't seen Palmer floating around yet. But both Palmer and Jackson are going to need some preseason minutes if we want to put either of them in our Game Week 1 teams. And it's going to be very interesting to see how much more solidity they actually provide to the team. Now, Jackson's going to make bugger all difference to the defensive prospects of Chelsea, as he will be up front doing his work in the press, but that is about it. Palmer will control the midfield a little bit more, and so perhaps he will add a bit more stability in the centre of the park. But if those 2 players are going to be quite high, then the defensive line that has already been lining up is pretty much mostly, or what looks like it's going to be the first team that's going to go out in Game Week 1 up against Man City, and they are going to get absolutely wrecked by Man City if it is that set of players playing in the way that they are playing. So something to keep an eye on, especially for any of you out there that are umming and ahhing over Haaland, saying that first game against Chelsea is going to be tough before he goes away to Ipswich. That is not at all the case. I think Man City will absolutely ruin Chelsea in Game Week 1 if they play the kind of football that they have been playing so far. So in a very quick wrap up, hopefully that provides a bit of an overview for some of the key players that you might be considering. Chelsea could be dysfunctional while they are learning this new system that Maresca is imposing on the team. Their defense is currently very leaky. Nkunku looked good, but he didn't really trouble the keeper apart from his penalty. Palmer will definitely make a difference, but how much of a difference is yet to see. And for myself, I am very iffy on Chelsea right now. They need a lot of improvement in the next 2 weeks of preseason if I want to put any of them in my squad. And alright, well that wraps up this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave us a comment to tell us what you think. And until next time, I'll see you all again soon. Cheers.